Hey, Laura J. Happy to say that I am on my way to being able to share what I have been researching. And I realize that I can actually do it by telling this story of how I got involved in the personal growth and development field, which is a modern day equivalent to essentially what we've already been through with Socrates and how his body of work was lost, and yet his students spoke of him or used him as a character in their stories because of his influence on them. But each of those writings were still based off of their own perceptions of the man, or what they stood to gain by portraying him or the situation in the way that they did. Because we've heard about Plato's rendition of Socrates' existence. Is that in the cave or the Republic, I think it might have been? But few people are as aware of Xenophon, who not only wrote the equivalent from the perspective of a jury of Socrates' peers, which back in those days was hundreds of citizens, actually, I learned. I lost my train of thought. Where I was trying to go was not where we're going to go in that moment, because it was lost, poof, gone, vanished. The rail that thought was taking within the neuroplasticity, I want to say neurotransmitters, but none of that is actually what we're dealing with. It actually comes back to the endocannabinoid system. The ECS, endocannabinoid system, is basically the response to the nervous system's reaction. It puts out a little bit of energy. The bliss molecule is actually located within the endocannabinoid system. And cannabinoids are actually used by the body to give you a little hit of, okay, relax, get back in the now. But it has become culturally acceptable to smoke or take the substance in however it is consumed, because it has become profitable. Just as last night I went to a Girls Inc. meeting for the upcoming events, which I will speak to, because I want you to be able to come and get involved. And I had so much fun talking about different sponsors and people or companies, places to be able to go to. And I was talking with Stephanie, who is the one I applied to be a board member to, and her and her sister Stacy, and it was just really lovely to get to know these two women, because I got out of my comfort zone, I took a new path, I tried something I hadn't before, and I showed up for the interview, for the events meeting last month, for this month. Like, I just am doing my best, even though at the time I was in a really low spot. I didn't know how to convey what I've been trying to say in a way that was safe for your nervous system to receive it, for your endocannabinoid system to not look for a substance or relationship dynamic outside of you in order to feel safe. Self-regulation was possible. Attachment theory or attachment styles theory, like, are you an insecure attached, or are you a secure attached kind of person from a nervous system perspective? Or is it the ECS perspective, actually, that we need to get back to, because that's the ventral vagal nerve, this system, that actually gives us that feeling of home, that feeling of peace inside of our heart or above the heart in the thalamus gland, which brings in the glandular systems. And why yesterday when I was having a conversation with my friend Acarist, who is a breath cultivator coach, where instead of working at your breath, he cultivates a breath that is going to help you breathe life in a different way. And I was speaking to him and sharing these pieces that I have been discovering because of my own quest and curiosity. And he shared some really insightful information as well. So I guess the point is to touch in and mention people, places, things, nouns that are significant in my world for you to know about, because you're in my world when you're watching me on this platform. Which is not mine, it is a public-private one because it is owned privately within what seems to be a public domain. But did you know that the internet is actually referred to as no man's land? No man owns it, so it is no man's land. But it is corporate in nature, it is based on domains, and that brings us back all the same to Hiero's prism, or PR-ism, as I've referred to it, because an ism is to form a whole body of construct around an idea, which is the dia tree that I coined when I realized the big idea is the God at the top of the hierarchy of an idea structure that gets studied. So ideology is when the idea is studied, and then you have an ideological state apparatus, as Louis Althusser referred to it, that basically is all family, social structures, community, group, anything beyond you is part of this ISA, ideological state apparatus, that is set up as if it were a playground that we are playing on. And what we're playing on in truth are the ideas that are reinforced by repressive state apparatuses that will make sure that you stay in line and walk the line. You do not cross that line. That is a boundary. You are bound to the airy side of the law. Did you know? Did you know that land stood for land, air, and water? Did you know that natural laws and what is just naturel are not the same? This has been a lot today. So I'd love for you to name what stood out for you. I'd love to know what this means to you and for you and what you're going to do with it. I'd love to know. So leave a comment down below so I can, please. I am heavily shadow banned, it seems. I don't know what to do about that. I'm not doing anything other than being me. Like, you know, if you want me to put more makeup on so that we can make up from the fight, then like, sure. I just went a lot more ghostly because this is a too light a color, except for, is it? Because I'm pretty pale. Though, you could not call me white, nor yellow, nor beige. What would you call skin tone? Well, it's just the tone of the skin. Well, did you know that the vagal toning is where you're actually strengthening your vagal nerve, your vagus nerve? Did you know that? That is significant. And I don't think many people outside of in the realm of professionalism know these things. And I think that's a problem. I think it's a problem not from the perspective that I stand to gain specifically from the use of it. Blush on the cheeks. I don't usually do that, but I'm thinking it is time to get my Neil Yard Remedies blush over with, because I've had it for over a decade since I got back, and I was using it while I was selling it as a product over there before then. So I'm going to put on my mascara and say that not wearing masks is actually what scares most people nowadays, because it's so uncommon. You see a barefaced one, you're like, whoa, what do you mean? It's like in the Curse of Noah, which is also called the Curse of Ham and the Curse of Canaan. which actually indirectly, phonetically, can refer to canons, as in like ecclesiastical's secular version of law, where instead of just applying to the church, it actually applies to social constructs generally. Yeah, this is advanced information to be sharing while applying makeup. And yep, it's what I'm doing. So I'm glad that you stuck around to share that experience with me, and I look forward to hearing your comments, your feedback. Also, if you have avenues in order to make this happen, I would appreciate knowing about it. Peaceful Inner Warriors United was always meant to be the flagship or umbrella that would be able to keep people from getting wet by the waters of the Admiralty, Maritime, and Commercial realms. The UCC code is put underneath, and so many of the others too that we don't realize when we allow ourselves to be converted. We're already captured and we just don't know it yet. So the fate hasn't been sealed because the seal that was put on to documents by the church were called Bullas. That was the official seal put on a document by the church. So buying the bulla means, are you literally buying the official word that you received with the stamp on it from not the crown, but actually the one above the crown, based on the unum sanctum and the other papal bulls that were bull indeed? And it's time for us to no longer pay steed and say, did you know, as we're in the year of the fire horse, that unicorns are actually horses with activated third eyes and open hearts? Just an idea. Anyway, whew, that's lots.